She posed a challenge to the royal family, and she's a fascinating person. I mean, she's a person who started from nothing and has become a world global star. And that route to the top has never really been properly reported and examined and investigated.
When I was pregnant, and Harry says, oh, there was a little discussion before we got married. Well, something's wrong right there.
There is growing speculation that Meghan Markle's legal team may have made a move that could carry major consequences if the matter ever reaches court.
Well, look, Radar Online, in fairness, they do quote you and say Royal author Lady Colin Campbell recently challenged the conspiracy of silence and misinformation surrounding both topics.
Possible the ghostwriter dislikes Harry. I know people who know him. I've heard interesting things about him. I know he's, as I have said previously, very into the 12-step program and the whole druggy alky business. It is not the job of a ghostwriter to do anything but put the thoughts of the incompetent who requires a ghostwriter.
According to commentators following the story closely, taking on figures such as Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower would not be a simple public relations dispute. Both are long-established royal commentators with extensive experience, published work, and reputations for standing by controversial claims. Some royal watchers argue that if Prince Harry were ever to move forward with a defamation lawsuit, the courtroom could become the exact place where far more scrutiny is invited than contained. In legal proceedings, once a case enters the discovery phase, both sides can seek records, documents, timelines, communications, and supporting evidence relevant to the claims being disputed. That possibility is exactly why some commentators say the situation carries so much risk. In theory, a legal discovery could include requests for birth-related documentation, hospital records, medical timelines, and private communications. Material that, according to critics, Harry and Meghan have worked very hard to keep private over the years. Supporters, on the other hand, would argue that protecting such records is simply a matter of family privacy and not evidence of concealment.
She never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She intended to have the baby at home. We know that they deceived the public about the birth data and time of the whole event. So, and also, you know, even it goes down to the lawyer saying that in that statement, when they had that long attack on the Mail, which is astonishing, that Meghan, we know she lied in her statement. What we're really now seeing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long, are really the aggressor.
Lady Colin Campbell has responded to the speculation with visible calm. In recent commentary, she appeared composed and unconcerned, giving the impression that she is not intimidated by the possibility of legal action. At the same time, reports continue circulating that investigators and commentators have been looking into records on both sides of the Atlantic, including in London and California, and that the absence of certain expected confirmations has itself become part of the public conversation. One point that keeps resurfacing in commentary is the argument that a basic DNA test or direct public verification could, in theory, address years of...
Where he doesn't go there. He doesn't go there. But he does go there as far as the fact that they wanted to keep the birth private and all the secrecy around that, and even the fact that...
Speculation almost instantly. Critics repeatedly say that such a step could settle the issue in one moment. Yet no such public measure has been taken, and that continued absence has only fueled more discussion. According to legal analysts who have commented on the situation, defamation law can create a major strategic risk for the person bringing the case. The reason is simple. Once a lawsuit is filed, the burden can shift toward proving that disputed claims are false. That means documents, timelines, private messages, records, and other supporting evidence can become central to the process. Some commentators have connected this to the ongoing lawsuit involving Samantha Markle, Meghan's half-sister. That legal dispute, which many once dismissed as unlikely to go far, has continued developing in ways that remind observers how revealing civil cases can become.
Markle, when Meghan was engaged to Harry, which Samantha says is a total lie. Interestingly, Samantha also says that Meghan's story about having a Ford Explorer where she could only get in through the boot was also untrue. She goes through a whole load of Meghan's lies. So by July, that is what the judge has said, these depositions, this cross-examination of Meghan will take place for the trial to start in October. So Meghan really has a problem because until today, her lawyers have been saying this is so ridiculous, we refuse to even engage with Samantha Markle. They stonewall.
Reports have suggested that Meghan may eventually be required to give sworn testimony, which would mean answering questions under oath in a legal setting rather than through media interviews or public statements. Supporters of Meghan argue that lawsuits of this kind are often politically or personally motivated and should not automatically be seen as truth-finding exercises. Critics respond that courtrooms operate differently from television appearances because the focus shifts to evidence, consistency, and documentation. Before going any further, many commentators emphasize an important distinction. Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower are not fringe internet personalities. Lady C has spent decades writing and speaking about the royal family, drawing on long-standing sources and connections. Over the years, some of her claims were heavily doubted at first, only for parts of them to later attract more serious attention. Because of that track record,
Want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. I wrote 4 years ago a book about Prince Charles, and it was a story about how he had rehabilitated himself after Diana's death, and how Camilla also had to be rehabilitated, and it was a #1. It was a fascinating story. So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. And obviously I spoke to her father, who loves her still very much, and said, you know, in the end, whatever she is, she's still my daughter. You can't beat the real story. I mean, that's the excitement of writing these sort of books, that in the end, nothing beats the truth.
She brings up the very interesting point that at the time when these rumours first started to come up and appear, that they were the realm of the conspiracy theorist, and that Lady C does not consider herself a conspiracy theorist, so she paid them no heed at all.
Many royal watchers now listen closely when she speaks, even if they do not agree with her. Tom Bower occupies a similarly serious place in British media, though in a different style. He is known as an aggressive investigative biographer whose book Revenge reportedly caused substantial anger within the Sussex camp when it was released. Throughout his career, and he has built a reputation for examining records, interviewing insiders, and pursuing difficult or uncomfortable details involving powerful figures. What has intensified the current conversation is what these investigators and commentators say they have already examined.
The description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know.
Either Archie or Lily, and it needs to happen. They need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter. And their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country. All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the
Reports suggest that Bower's team looked into records connected to Portland Hospital in London and Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in California, the two facilities most often mentioned in connection with the births of Harry and Meghan's children. According to discussions surrounding that research, investigators were looking for the kinds of documentation that usually accompany major medical events: confirmations, administrative records, and the ordinary paper trail associated with hospital births. Lady Colin Campbell has also hinted at timelines, communications, and individuals who were allegedly present during Meghan's pregnancies, who, in her view, could potentially speak if required. Interestingly, Lady C has said she did not initially believe the early rumors at all.
Thought by some people that Meghan was too big for, well, I suppose her first baby, and also too big for the fact of only having one child. And she seemed to be too big at the wrong time, or like suddenly.
He has more power than the courts and the king. That's what he's trying to do. He's getting the government to undermine the legal system and the institution of the monarchy. It couldn't be simpler. Harry has security when he comes to this country. It's assessed on a case-by-case basis. If he stays in a palace, and he's offered to stay in palaces and refuses to do so because he's trying to manipulate.
According to her own account, when the first speculation appeared online, she dismissed it as too extreme and too implausible to be taken seriously by credible observers. At first, she reportedly viewed the whole subject as something responsible commentators should stay away from. But she says that changed over time. According to her, phone calls began coming in. Journalists reportedly contacted her with questions. Sources connected to royal circles were said to have expressed unease about certain details. In her telling, and the conversation gradually shifted from internet speculation into something that more serious people were quietly paying attention to. Palace reaction has.
Why is she always clutching and holding onto her belly? Is she trying to hold something in place? And that sort of feeling and sentiment started to grow.
I'm told, and I believe, it was very early on in their relationship when Harry is bowled over by Meghan, is desperately in love, and already is talking about marriage. But long before their engagement is even announced, let alone they're married and she's pregnant. And he's sitting in Clarence's house with then Prince Charles and Camilla. And Camilla just laughingly says, well, any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair, and already is talking about marriage. But long before their engagement is even announced, let alone they're married and she's pregnant. And he's sitting in Clarence's house with then Prince Charles and Camilla. And Camilla just laughingly says, well, any child you'll have will probably have brown skin and ginger hair. And they all laugh, including Harry. I mean, it's not because of racism. It's just one of those things everybody imagines. When somebody is pregnant close to you, you wonder what the child will look like. But it was not said as anything other than
like a concern. That's what Meghan claimed, that it was a concern about how dark the baby
has also become part of the discussion. According to ongoing commentary, the expectation inside royal circles had allegedly been that a traditional royal birth presentation, particularly at St. Mary's Hospital in Paddington, the location associated with several previous senior royal births, would help eliminate speculation immediately. That hospital had long been associated with public royal birth protocol, named doctors, identified consultants, and carefully structured transparency. But critics point out that in the Sussex case, the public did not receive the same level of detail. No publicly named doctors, no named consultants in the traditional style. And none of the typical information many observers had come to expect from previous births.
I think Harry and Meghan are fast learning what they signed away when they took this Netflix big moolah, and I would say they signed away their credibility and their dignity.
Well, that's our view, but it's not theirs. They need the money, and they need it now more than ever because they've got no other source of income. So I think they're just stuck with the devil now. They're tied to Netflix, they're tied to their book, and all the criticism they're going to take means nothing because that's the only way they can earn their money. He does it because he needs a profile. That's the only way they can get money, by showing the profile. And for Netflix, everything is built around the future documentary series to promote the
close to the throne. Critics argue that when silence replaces detail in a setting so historically formalized, questions inevitably begin to grow. Another part of the debate centers on Meghan's public pregnancy appearances. A number of retired medical professionals, including a labor and delivery nurse and a retired midwife, according to commentators, have publicly or semi-publicly observed that the changing appearance of Meghan's pregnancy bump in photographs struck them as unusual. These observations remain subjective and controversial, but they have circulated widely online. Some observers have pointed to appearances where the bump seemed noticeably different from one day to another.
He's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized, firstly because he became drunk.
I was shocked to hear that. I mean, is that who he is?
Well, I think Harry is a very complicated person because he's not very intelligent and undoubtedly remains damaged by the early death of his mother, Diana. And he very foolishly blames the media for her, in his words, murdered her, which is complete nonsense. But I think he loved the adulation. He loved it when he was being praised, especially when he was a soldier. But then he became criticized.
Others claimed it appeared different even within the same event or photo sequence. Specific moments that frequently come up include the British Fashion Awards appearance, where Meghan was seen repeatedly holding her belly, and the separate occasion where she crouched while wearing high heels, which some midwives later commented would be difficult late in pregnancy. Another widely discussed moment involved the purple dress and red coat appearance, where critics said the bump appeared positioned differently before and after a meeting on the same day. Lady Colin Campbell has also drawn attention to the exact wording used in the children's birth announcements. According to her commentary, both announcements said the child was born for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex rather than born to them. She argues that in precise English usage, born to is the expected phrasing for a mother who physically carried and delivered a child, while born for can sometimes imply a different arrangement. Many people believe that could simply have been a drafting choice with no deeper meaning. Lady C, however, has repeatedly said she does not view the wording as accidental, particularly because the same phrasing.
I think there are times when he should have. You are absolutely right. The book is littered with inconsistencies and anomalies, where Harry is on the one hand raging about people and how terrible they are because they are doing to him exactly what he is doing to someone else, but he's a wonderful person. But he
had to admit that actually those stories had been published by other newspapers, days prior, and that's where they got the information from. Or the fact sometimes the palace released information themselves and Prince Harry wasn't aware of it, or the fact that it was just sources and friends or people close to Prince Harry.
Reportedly appeared in two separate announcements. Tom Bower's reported investigation into hospital records added another layer to the public conversation. According to ongoing discussions around his work, his team did not find the sort of clear public-facing documentation some people expected in relation to Portland Hospital in London or Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital in California. Whether that absence means anything significant remains highly disputed, but it has unquestionably fueled online debate. Then there is the media strategy question. When Archie was first presented to the public, one American network received notable access, and that network already had a relationship with Oprah Winfrey, who later became central to the Sussex media narrative. Bower's interpretation has been that secrecy around certain key moments may have been driven not solely by privacy, but also by media strategy and future commercial value.
Harry doesn't have the brains, and Meghan has the ability. Not enough brains to have figured out that being too clever by half is stupid by whole, but enough brains to think, well, I'm so clever, I can outsmart everybody. And anybody who gets to see what I'm about, sorry, I forgot, the hands have to flash. After all, she is a member of, well, isn't she the woman from La Mancha? Windmills everywhere? You notice she's gone quiet on Instagram for about a month now. There was a whole load of postings when she was pushing the narrative that I'm a great...
She hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal family.
Harry himself added another often cited detail during a brief interview near a stable shortly after Archie's birth. In that moment, he remarked that the baby had changed so much in 2 weeks, before Meghan quickly corrected him. 2 days? 2 weeks? 2 days? The exchange was brief and passed without follow-up from the reporters present. But it remains one of those small moments critics continue bringing up as an example of why the timeline discussion has never fully gone away. According to sources around Montecito, the pressure surrounding these questions has reportedly been building. Harry is described in some accounts as deeply frustrated, struggling with sleeplessness, pacing late at night, and
actually composed again, and never talks about it. I mean, the whole problem she found with this last Vanity Fair issue, the hustle issue, is that she couldn't control the content, and she is somebody who believes, understandably, she's got to control everything down to the last full. And that's why I think, I think Tina is a great journalist, and perhaps she has inside information. I don't see how the Sussexes can give up both the Netflix and the book deal. They won't be living in a Montecito cottage, be more likely living somewhere in downtown LA, in a little hovel. That's their problem. They're stuck now. But, the truth...
Monitoring articles, videos, and commentary from people dissecting every photo and timeline related to the births. Reports continue to suggest that Harry's legal advisors have considered action against both Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower. Yet Lady C's response surprised many observers.
Got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem. What I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards, when her marriage had crashed and she couldn't find anyone in Canada at the time. And she wanted wealth and she wanted fame. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted.
She did not retreat, soften her wording, or add cautionary distance. Instead, her answer was blunt. Let him sue me. That response carried weight, because she clearly understands what a courtroom would mean. The very legal setting Harry might consider using to silence criticism could also become the setting where her claims, sources, and timelines would be tested under formal legal rules. Tom Bower responded in much the same spirit. He has said publicly that he stands by his research and that his work is based on sources, records, interviews, and documentary material that, in his view, cannot simply be erased by legal pressure. The message many listeners took from his response was simple. If a lawsuit comes, he is prepared. Legal commentators say that if a defamation case were ever filed, it would become highly complex very quickly. In such cases, the claimant generally has to prove that the disputed statements were false and...
always looked at it more as, oh, she landed this prince, that's what she was out for. We know that she was hunting for someone of wealth, of notoriety in Great Britain, and she landed, the biggest you could land. But it worked the other way too. He was feeling irrelevant. She comes along, she's a, somewhat well-known person, or at least that was his impression. And she's mixed race. She could elevate his star as well. It worked both ways.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, what I discovered was, of course, that she was hunting for a man in England from 2013 onwards.
It was a dreadful thing to do, and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly, truly bizarre.
Damaging. And that means the courtroom could become a place where exact records, medical documentation, timelines, communications, and witness accounts are scrutinized in detail. And that is exactly why some observers believe the Sussexes may think very carefully before ever taking that step. In previous disputes involving media reporting about Prince Harry, it has been acknowledged that certain stories first appeared in newspapers or were attributed to sources said to be close to royal circles. At times, communications linked to palace officials have also been cited as influencing how information reached the press. If a legal case connected to current claims were ever to move forward, however, the focus would likely shift to the legal procedure known as discovery. This phase allows both sides in a lawsuit to formally request documents, records, timelines, and other evidence connected to the issues being argued. For that reason, many legal commentators say lawsuits can sometimes open avenues of scrutiny that were never initially intended. Once a matter enters court, the process becomes structured around documentation and sworn testimony rather than media messaging or public relations strategy. Public reaction to the ongoing speculation has been strong. Comment sections and online forums are filled with viewers repeating the same challenge: take the matter to
Delusional. He's always had tendencies to delusions. We need to cut him some slack with the possibility, as I have said before, that he might have been born, shall we say, handicapped. Certainly, he's no brain box. On the contrary, it doesn't help that he doesn't have a mind to be in with, and that he's out of the mind he doesn't have. But the impertinence, the arrogance, is truly beyond belief. Because really, what did that dowry offer constitute? Oh, it was meant to give the message that, oh, I want to be wonderful. I don't want to upstage Pa or Big Willie. But I need you to know how important I am. So I will make the offer, as if Harry and Meghan's engagements are
court. Some observers argue that only formal legal questioning can settle the debate, rather than continued discussion through interviews, books, or televised commentary. Supporters of this view point out that courtroom dynamics differ significantly from television appearances or press briefings. Witnesses are required to respond directly to questions, statements are recorded under oath, and both sides are given opportunities to challenge timelines and claims. There is also a perceived contradiction that critics frequently highlight. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have often spoken publicly about the importance of transparency, personal truth, and the experience of feeling silenced by powerful institutions. At the same time, some commentators argue that legal warnings directed at authors and royal commentators raising questions appear to move in the opposite direction. Throughout most of the discussion, the royal household itself has remained publicly silent. The standard response, that the palace does not engage in speculation, has been repeated without elaboration. Observers note that such statements are designed to close conversations without directly addressing the substance of the claims. Part of the reason the debate continues to draw attention is that it touches on issues far beyond celebrity coverage. British royal succession law has developed over centuries, and one of its long-standing principles has been that heirs must be born of the body. Historically, that requirement has been seen as a key safeguard in confirming the legitimacy of the royal line. If questions raised by figures such as Lady Colin Campbell or Tom Bower were ever to gain legal traction, some commentators suggest the implications could be significant. The discussion would move from speculation about personal matters into the realm of constitutional law and royal succession. Under current constitutional arrangements, a royal child's position in the line of succession is linked to long-standing legal definitions and precedents. If any formal legal process required clarification of those definitions, observers say it could trigger broader constitutional questions about how succession rules apply in modern circumstances. For that reason, some royal watchers believe that constitutional lawyers have quietly examined the issue in private discussions. There has been no official announcement or public confirmation of such reviews, but commentators frequently suggest that legal experts monitor developments involving the royal line closely. Another detail often noted in media analysis is the visible distance between King Charles and the Sussex children in public life. Comparisons are frequently drawn with the children of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, who regularly appear in official photographs, public celebrations, and family events connected to the monarchy. By contrast, Archie and Lilibet have been seen only occasionally in public images or brief media glimpses. Some palace insiders, speaking anonymously in reports, have suggested that maintaining distance may be a cautious and strategic decision designed to avoid intensifying already sensitive debates. Amid this continuing speculation, one suggestion appears repeatedly across commentary and social media discussion: that a definitive form of verification could settle the matter quickly. References to DNA testing have been raised by various commentators, including Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower, as well as by members of the public. Supporters of that idea argue that if the facts are exactly as presented, a single step could end years of rumor and speculation. Critics continue asking why such a straightforward measure has not been pursued publicly. At the same time, others counter that private family matters should not be subject to public demands for proof. Each passing period without clear clarification is described by some observers as increasing the weight of uncertainty. Legal warnings, rather than direct responses, are interpreted by critics as contributing to ongoing suspicion. Supporters of the Sussexes strongly reject that interpretation, emphasizing privacy rights and the pressures faced by public figures. Tom Bower has been particularly direct in outlining what he believes is the underlying pressure facing the couple. In his analysis, Harry and Meghan's post-royal life relies heavily on maintaining a powerful public brand, one built around themes of family unity, humanitarian work, and a narrative of stepping away from royal duties to speak openly. According to critics who follow his work, any perceived inconsistencies in that narrative could carry financial implications. Commercial partnerships, media projects, and public engagements are all influenced by reputation and audience perception, meaning that controversy can affect long-term prospects. Bower has reportedly described the couple as feeling increasingly constrained by the need to control public narratives while also maintaining visibility. In his view, attempts to manage criticism through legal warnings or cease-and-desist letters may sometimes have the opposite effect, drawing greater attention to disputed claims. Lady Colin Campbell has also commented on the financial dimension of the situation. She has suggested that Meghan may have initially believed Prince Harry possessed personal wealth on a far larger scale than was actually the case. In her interpretation, much of his historical financial security was linked to the royal institution itself, the same institution he later criticized publicly. This dynamic, she argues, has contributed to a complicated position in which continued public attention is necessary to sustain global relevance. Yet that same attention brings increased scrutiny and renewed questioning. At present, the situation appears unresolved. Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower have both indicated they are unwilling to retreat from their claims. Speculation about potential legal action continues, while the deposition process in the Samantha Markle case remains ongoing. The palace has maintained its policy of silence. Legal analysts continue observing developments. Across television debates, online commentary, and social media platforms, one phrase frequently associated with Lady Colin Campbell continues to circulate: "Let him sue me." The central question many observers now ask is straightforward: whether Prince Harry will ultimately decide to pursue legal action, or whether the matter will remain in the realm of public speculation.